Hi, everybody. It's Bob Ost, and that means it's Theater Resources Unlimited again. I hope some of you have been seeing some of our weekly gatherings and uh, exploring what we have to offer on YouTube. I think we have something like 60 or 70 of these conversations that we've had over the last year. I started these, as many people know by heart by now. I started these April 17th in 2020. Um, I went through what a lot of people went through when we realized that they really meant it when they said we had to go into shutdown. That was kind of like, what? We doing what? We're going into shutdown. What is COVID? What is going on? And then the masking thing. It's like, no, I'm not going to wear a mask. Well, yes, I wound up wearing a mask. The whole world changed so radically. It was it was disturbing, and it was very disorienting for some of us, for most of us probably, if not all of us. And I didn't know what to do. I had to cancel programs, but I kept thinking, well, there's something called Zoom. I hear rumors that there's something called Zoom, and I thought, well, I don't really want to learn how to do this, but I guess I better. And I had a couple people hold my hand and keep me calm, and we started planning a panel on Zoom, and I realized that everybody was isolated. It wasn't just me; it was everybody and me, and all over the world. It was crazy. Although, by the way, I have fond memories of 7 o'clock every night in New York, in Manhattan, where everybody was cheering the first responders and making noise and music out the windows. Um, I will always hold that memory very dear. Um, but we needed to find a way to not feel isolated. And so I asked everybody if they wanted to meet on Zoom. And everybody said, yeah. I mean, everybody I talked to said, let's do it. So I opened up the room at 4:30 on Fridays on April 17th, and people came in and had an opportunity to have a voice in a period that kind of felt like it was silencing all of us, and disempowering us. Um, and I think by being able to come in every week or most weeks or whenever people could make it, they were able to feel a little bit less isolated and a little bit more confident in the ability to still survive, thrive, and actually create during this terrible period that we will always remember. Um, Hopefully, we made it a little less terrible by giving people an opportunity to come in and talk about their experiences and share. And we've been talking for the past, I think it's 75 weeks at this point. Um, we've been talking about creating in COVID. We've been talking about podcasts. We've been talking about radio dramas. We've been talking about things that we've used as substitutes for our art, since we weren't able to have live theater. Um, and now we've reached a period where we're actually able to go into the world again. It's opened up with caution. It's opened up, and a lot of us are talking about how a lot of you have already seen Broadway shows, and I'm seeing my first Broadway show Tuesday night. Yay! Um, and we're trying to get back to something that resembles the normal we used to know. Um, I think that we will always be affected by what we went through, and I think there may be a lot of good lessons we learned from it, and they will take them into the future. One thing that Zoom gave me as a gift was the ability to do this in a room with people from all over the world. Before Zoom, before COVID, everything that we did here was in New York, in Manhattan, very New York centric, as I always say. And now we're broadening. We're reaching out beyond New York, and I also feel like we want to reach out to topics that go well beyond isolation and COVID and creativity and all that. And I have this friend. Um, I went to elementary school with Beth Levin, and I will never forget the first time she walked with perfect posture into the auditorium for our assembly, sat down at the piano, and dazzled me. It was like, how do you do that? how does anybody do that? She played the piano magnificently, even at age, I think it was 8. And in talking with her, I've discovered that as a performer, she sees things in many of the same ways that we see them in theater. Art is art. And I think it's time for us to sort of go beyond our theater vision and take a little broader look at the arts. And that's why I invited Beth to be with us today. And I'm going to bring her in right now by putting us on gallery view. And Beth Levin, my oldest, probably one of my oldest friends in the world. I've known you since, how old were we when we met?
I guess eight. Eight's about right. Yeah.
It's about right. It's like, who knew? And I want you to know, by the way, that when you were playing piano, at age 8, actually at age 4, I was writing rhymed poetry.
Oh,
And
bravo.
and I thought it was like I was the only person in the world who was doing this stupid stuff, and I didn't understand it. And then you
Uh-huh.
walked in and sat down at the piano,
Oh,
and suddenly I went, "Oh, this is something. This is something that exists in the world. It's not just my imagination." Um,
yeah. They let you do it.
they, they encouraged us actually at Man School in Philadelphia. For those of you
Yes.
who are dying to know where we went to elementary
Oh, yeah.
school,
Man school. Yes. Right.
the William B. Mann School.
Yes.
Um,
But the entire Philadelphia system was fantastic for music. It really was great all the way up to high school.
yes, I was actually. Were we in the? Did you go to Dimner Bieber Junior High?
Oh gosh. No, I went to girls' high.
Oh no, I went to Central and you were at Girls High,
Oh,
right?
okay. Maybe I went to Bieber for one like semester and then went to girls' high, I think.
Because I was in the orchestra. I was playing the violin.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I
So in
didn't
addition,
know that.
yes, I was a violinist. I was Miss Rowley at Man School. I don't know if you ever met Miss Rowley, but
No,
she
no.
got me playing the violin. So we had music in common. There were
Good.
somebody that I always admired,
Oh,
and
thank you.
you had a profound effect on my life because you made art seem like something that people do.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad.
So our conversation
Yeah.
is about how you approach music as a performer. Um, I think it's fair. One thing that a lot of us forget, or we were taught it, and it kind of slips through the cracks in the brain. Um, Piano is a percussive instrument. It's a string instrument. It's got strings, so it's a string instrument by virtue of having strings. But it's really played and approached as a percussive instrument. Correct? Am I?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, literally speaking, yes, but I think it can also really sing and, almost be a voice if you wanted to be.
Absolutely, and that's the other thing that I was going to say, that it can be played in many different ways. Your
Yes.
your style and your approach to music, as I've experienced it, as I've read about some people who've experienced it, is very athletic, very strong. You're a very strong pianist, and
Uh-huh. I guess I am. I I um I mean, I think that I like to have a really broad range. So as tender as you can be at the piano, you can be as huge as well. There's just a very large range.
well, I think Beethoven, which is one of the areas that you excel in, Beethoven allows for a lot of
Yes.
athleticism.
Yes.
Um, he's a very powerful, he can be a very percussive writer. Um, how do you let's go to a basic question,
Okay.
and let me see what this brings out for you.
All right.
Um, when you approach a piece of music that you have never played before,
Right.
what is it that you look for um, in the music? Um, do you have an idea already, a preconceived idea of what it's going to be for you? Do you look at music in terms of how you've heard it interpreted by others, or do you look at it in terms of what is this music for me?
Oh, good question. Mainly no, no, and no. But anyway, no, I usually just I play it. I play it, and I have no preconceived idea. I don't really think I think this is going to be one way or another. I just play it and let it kind of get into me a little bit. And actually, that's probably the happiest part, because then the next day you wake up and it's, it's hard. It was sort of, it's sort of almost like playing when you first start. And then as you go deeper, the difficulties come up.
I want to kind of cling to a metaphor of piano playing as a form of performance, so that we can tie it in with acting and we can tie it
Yeah.
in with theater. You actually said to me that when you play, you actually are performing and you're being theatrical. And tell me what you meant by that.
Oh gosh. I think what I mean is that, well, you're almost two people when you perform. There's you sitting and performing, and then there's this other person who's gauging and sensing and making all kinds of decisions. And also, I think what comes into that is this sense of projecting. I think when I think of projecting, maybe that's the closest that I think of as an actor, because when you have an idea or emotion, or you want to kind of show the music, you don't keep it to yourself. It goes out. And I think an actress does that too. It never just stays in your body. It has to be projected. Even, the most tender moment that might be in pianissimo has to still come out. That old adage about playing to the last row or whatever, I think that really does apply as a pianist as well. You want to see everything that you're doing come to life.
So you're aware of the audience when you play, is it, to some with
I
act you
don't
see
know. I
with
don't know if
acting
everyone is, but I am. Yeah.
with acting, just so you know, I mean, the audience is a collaborator in any performance.
Oh,
Any actor is on
yeah.
stage senses the audience.
Yes.
But I wonder, when you're playing a Beethoven sonata, or when you're playing what any contemporary piece, whatever it is that you're playing,
Mhm.
do you find yourself shifting or shaping it based on the room, or is it pretty set?
Oh, it's never set. It's not set. I think you have a path, definitely, that you've rehearsed and thought about. But as soon as it's a performance, it could change every time. It really could. But I don't know if I'd say because of the audience, just because of the moment, really. Every
Okay,
moment's new.
all
So
right.
so it's not set.
So when you what is the process like when okay, you say that you just sit down and you enjoy playing through something, and basically for you it sounds like it's a discovery process. You have a score in front of you,
Right.
and you God bless you, you have the ability to actually turn those notes into a page right in the moment into something that is musical. I can't always do that, especially if it's anything faster than an eighth note.
Right, right. Yeah, that's just from being, years and years of doing it, you know.
So what is the discovery process like for you?
Yeah, well,
I mean, if you
here's
if you want, and if you want to relate it to a specific piece, perhaps that would be okay.
um I was just thinking as you were talking that an actor has a script, and I or we musicians have a score, and we're sort of presented with this finished product in a way. And I think the actor and the musician goes back, goes down and deep and back to the original impulse, if you can, because that's what's exciting, what the composer was doing in the beginning before it was all finished. And then we kind of come back up so that we can speak or express at the piano what we've what we found out, basically. So it's kind of going down and then coming back up. But somehow I think that's maybe similar, an actor and a musician,
Well,
because you have the finished product in front of you.
the to the untrained or to the lesser trained musician, um, a piece of classical music is a piece of classical music. Sometimes we forget that how much interpretation goes into it.
Mm.
One of the things that I'm, as a composer, because I write music, you've actually
Sure.
seen something I've written. I'm very much into the inner voices. I love counterpoint. I love the inner voices. So for you, do you make specific choices about what is the leading vocal line for a piece? And
Oh, yeah.
which leads to another question. When you're doing percussive atonal or very contemporary abstract music, how do you know what the vocal line is?
Uh-huh. Well, first of all, every minute you are gauging the voicing, every minute. I mean, mostly, you'll have a lot of the singing top voice, but then suddenly the middle voices are much more interesting and you'll be bringing that out. And then maybe the bass is more interesting. It's a constant process as you play, I think. The ear, it's really the ear deciding.
Well,
And
I've read reviews of your performance
yeah.
where I've heard critics say that you surprised them by bringing out a line that they had never really paid as much attention to.
Oh,
Um, are you aware of the fact that you sometimes, and that's very much like acting, because
yeah,
acting thrives on subtext. It seems to me that
right.
the inner voices are kind of comparable to subtext, to
Ah,
the other things that are going on underneath.
uh-huh. Oh, they can be more interesting. Especially, I mean, what happens sometimes is that the melodic line, you've heard it, you've heard it and you've heard it. And then you want to let go of it and discover what's underneath.
So I've also seen you perform, and I think one of the things that you started to describe in your process, but maybe from my point of view rather than from your point of view, your body expresses the emotion. I've seen you play, and I've seen you lose yourself in just ecstasy, and I've lose yourself in just. I can feel that your body is part of your musicality.
Boy,
You, oi, but
but I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right. Yeah. That reminded me of Mr. Fuller, my first teacher, who would grab hold of my ponytail because I was swooning, and he's like, you have to sit still. He called my mother. She has to sit still.
no, you're a swooner.
I know. I can't help it. Yeah.
But I think that's part of the interpretation. That's part of how you interpret the character. I mean,
Yeah. It's, I mean, I think, again, they're physical things that you're doing, and an actor certainly does as well, physical gestures that show the music.
so you don't consciously act out the performances.
No, no. I mean, I'm a little surprised. I haven't seen myself perform in a long time.
I, I love it. I mean, I just love watching you. I love listening to you and watching you. It just seems that you're so
And,
completely
and
within
Bob,
the music.
gotten better over the years. I mean, I even thought I wasn't moving at all at the last concert, but I was quickly told that was not true.
Why is it that in classical music you're encouraged to sit so still?
Well, I mean, I think I like the idea. I really love the idea of the music just being itself and you getting out of the way if you possibly can, and I think I do that in terms of the sound itself. But I don't know, I get carried away when it's so beautiful. Any Brahms or Mozart or Bach, it's hard to just sit still.
Now you've recorded all of the Beethoven It's
No, no,
this,
no, just the last three and the Hammerklavier,
okay, the lesser in that.
the
So
last,
when you approach something like that is really
yeah,
known in the world, how do you approach it? How do you
yeah.
do you think about how you're going to make it yours, or do you just want to?
No, I mean, I think that's one of the things I do. I don't listen enough probably to other interpretations. That was where I think I said to you, I loved Glenna Jackson because when I was working on the Hammerklavier, I mean, I probably should have listened to this one and that one. I just look at Glenna Jackson. I mean, her acting is the same as what goes into the Hammerklavier. And so I think it's great that you can pull from other genres. It doesn't always have to be, well, oh, listen to what he did. So in the end, I think I come out pretty much myself, you know, anyway.
Can you expound a little bit on the Glenda Jackson parallel? What is it about Glenda Jackson that you see in
Yeah,
this
I mean,
music?
well, when I watch her, I see a lot of power and yet tenderness too. Again, the range is so beautiful. And the way she uses sound and her body and her face. Another actor from a long, long time ago, Emil Jannings. I mean, once you've watched Emil Jannings, you're just changed
For those
completely.
of you who are wondering, that's the Blue Angel
Right, right. I mean,
with Marlene Dietrich. Yeah.
the humanity there, I think, is at the very basis of everything we're talking about. You know,
So this is a complicated one for me. Music is more apt. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say that I feel that music is more abstract than words. Words communicate specifically. Music, we have to sometimes explore it to find out what it's expressing. It's not always absolutely clear. I mean, we can tell the difference between something that's allegretto and lively and something that's appassionato.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but within that, it seems
right.
like music is a language that has infinite interpretation possibilities. Do you agree with that or disagree with that, or do you think I should rethink this?
Oh boy. I think when I look at a score, I'm not looking and thinking, oh, there's 20 ways. I'm looking for one way, you know, that I believe at that moment is it. Like I believe this truth in this music when I look at all the markings and look at the phrasing and look at everything that I'm given. I come up with something that, at least at the moment, I see as the way. Of course, somebody else tomorrow will play it completely differently, but I think there, of course, there's lots of choices, but they're the ones you make with something ultimately in mind to be kind of truthful.
But some of it is so simple. I mean, it's just that it's a difference between the degree of pianissimo that you use, the degree of forte that you use. I mean, there's nothing set in
No.
terms of how loud is loud or how soft is soft, and it seems like there's just so much leeway in
Uh-huh.
music.
I mean, I think the piano, for instance, is just such a magical instrument in that there are so many gradations, and it seems like anything you want to give it or kind of create, the piano gives back to you 10 times. Do you feel that way? You feel that way, that you can be anything at the piano, you know,
I
such a
don't
good,
play well enough to relate to that. I'm a terrible pianist.
no, oh no. But I mean, I
By
think
the way, did you
that,
notice I wore my music shirt for you?
oh, good.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. Oh my goodness. That's great.
Um,
Yeah.
so the thing,
I'm
the
not sure
things,
I'm answering your question right,
well,
but
you're answering it for yourself, which is basically you're the person I'm interviewing, and that's what I want to hear. I want to hear your ideas and your thoughts about these things. I've got a lot of thoughts about music and how it relates
yeah.
to other arts. Um, I, I think that tempo
Yeah.
How many times have we listened to something that we know from another symphonic performance, you say symphonic performance, and we go, that's so slow. Why are they playing it so slow? Tempo is, there's no absolute in tempo. There's no absolute in
No. If it works, then slow can work. You know.
But that's where the interpretation comes in. I mean,
yeah.
I know that it happens with conductors in symphonic works.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to find out whether it happens with you as an individual artist. I know a conductor will make a conscious choice to slow something down because he heard that someone else play it and he thought, no, you're losing something here. You're losing something here.
Right.
If you slow it down, then what we get all this other stuff, all this richness in return.
That you never heard before.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I like that in my own work.
So I think that there's a tremendous amount of interpretation.
In that sense, you're right.
I mean, do you think your tempos are the absolute tempos that everybody else plays when you do something?
Not at all. Well, I can think of the last concert when I sat down to play the first work, which was a Mozart fantasy, and almost I don't know what came over me, but I did play the opening section incredibly slowly, much slower than I had practiced it. And it was just all working. It was just perfect because you could hear all the beauty that was there. Then the next section was more andante, and so the comparison was great between the opening and the next section. And I was so glad that happened. You know, it was a good choice.
So there are infinite choices as a performer.
Right, but I think in the end, you have to choose. You know, you really have to choose from.
Or you can't play.
Right. I think that's why I like that about a concert. It's almost like a cutoff point. Like, okay, you cannot fool around. You cannot think anymore about that note. You know, you have to make a choice now. And a concert sort of gives you that deadline, and it's good for you, I think. Or you would just, I don't know, go off into a million tangents.
I see that Anuo is asking something similar to what I asked. Let's see if we can explore this a little bit more for her. I have to, where is it now? Do you feel that pianists express the composer's feeling, or how can you integrate yourself into the playing process? Is it your job to express the composer's feelings, or is it your feelings?
Yeah, you have to be careful. You don't want to just be you. It's not you. I mean, I think, unfortunately, you really try to understand the composer. And that's the bottom line right there. Then, when you're a strong interpreter, though, your own personality, it comes into it. You can't help it.
Inevitably, yeah.
And in a way, but a better way to think of it is that you're using what you have. You're sort of like this one universe, and the music is this other universe, and the two universes come together, and then often it can be great if you don't just make it all about yourself. That's just, very, very amateur.
Well, the thing that I wanted to add to this conversation for me as a playwright, I've heard my plays read by many different actors, and I can tell you there are times when an actor will read a character in a way that I've never imagined, and sometimes it's eye-opening, sometimes it's painful, but sometimes it is eye-opening. So I think that art allows you to interpret. I think that you don't want to do anything that's going to make the writer, the composer, run out of the room screaming. But I think that we all, we who create through writing, the composers, the playwrights, I think we have, most of us, I think, have an understanding that it's a collaboration.
Right,
There's a
right.
difference between notes on a page and notes performed. There's a difference between words on a page and words performed.
Yes, yes, so correct. I was just thinking that recently I had, oh gosh, several composers write me music, which was a great honor, and I played them, and but I also realized the responsibility, and this one piece was so difficult. I mean, it was just, I don't think I ever got it really correctly up until even in the performance, but the composer seemed to love it and he was very happy. So I don't know. I kind of really dug deep to try to get to what he was after, but it wasn't easy. It was like as difficult as some late Beethoven in a certain sense.
It's interesting that you said that because I was thinking that part of the challenge of doing new music is the fact that you've never heard it before. Late Beethoven, even though you don't listen to a lot of other performers, according to you, but I don't believe you. Um, uh, you've heard the late Beethoven. Before
Yeah,
you
yeah,
jumped in and tried.
true.
You said you're going to do the last three
Right.
Beethoven sonatas. You knew what they were. Um, you are also very well known for generously providing a vehicle for new writers and new works, and you do this frequently.
I
Um,
do. I do. I try to.
can you talk about the difference in how you approach um, with a living writer and a dead writer? Is what it
It's
boils down to.
exactly the same. Exactly the same. Really, there's no. I mean, that's why I think of the dead composers as totally alive. I mean, 109, the opening to Opus 109 of Beethoven. It's like he wrote it yesterday. You know, that's the point. And then the new music always has, you know, even though it's new, it has some things that are remind you of other things, and you know, there's sometimes you can hang on to something a little bit, but I think the newness is really the exciting part of it. You know, even when I'll get a manuscript in the mail, it'll be like wet. You know, I'll be like, wow, this is really new. This has never been played, but that's exciting, you know. But I think the old pieces are just as alive. That's really my whole kind of thing, you know.
I studied. I might have become serious composer, except for the fact that when I went to University of Pennsylvania, Richard Wernick told me that I didn't know what I was doing. So
You can't listen to these people.
I listened to him. I mean, he had a Pulitzer Prize. I was listening to him.
Oh,
I took a counterpoint class. I took a harmony class. Counterpoint, I had a real flair for. I understood it. It's like I was born understanding counterpoint the way I was born understanding how to write rhymed poetry. And there are probably parallels between the two of them. Actually, I was completely bamboozled by the harmony class. When we had to analyze the harmonic structure of a
yeah,
Bartok piece,
yeah.
I had a nervous breakdown. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Oh,
So, so my question to you is, how do you when classic music is all complex. It all has its complexities, but there's a certain lucidity to pieces, the classic, the romantic, the older styles. As we moved into the 20th century, we started getting more abstract, and we started getting atonal. We started getting polyphonic. We started getting 12 tone. We won't even go to the 12 tone right now. But how do you see? I find much of it opaque. How do you look at it and know what the structure is, what the shape is of the piece? If
well, I
it's
think that's a case where I don't necessarily need to understand it to feel something and to like it. I mean, recently I've been playing Andrew Rudin, who happens to be 12 tone, but it's sort of besides the point. I mean, I don't think he even cares that it's 12 tone. It's got a musical line. It has a lot of the same sort of invisible qualities like rhythm and direction of sound and things that you would work on any good piece. I think if something's good, it doesn't matter if you don't understand it right away.
However, I'm going to call you on that because good is a subjective judgment, and
True.
what is good for you may not be good for other people. Understandable is the. I think that I'm not the only one that sometimes has a difficult time navigating contemporary,
Yeah.
very contemporary music.
Gosh, people say that all the time.
But you don't have that doesn't happen. You look at it, it makes perfect sense to you.
Oh no, no, I don't know. I don't say it makes sense, but if there's something that draws me, I don't care if I don't understand every note right away. And then, of course, the great thing about playing modern music is you can call up the composer and start complaining and say, "What did you do that for?"
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that. What was that? What was that like? How did you? What was your conversation like with the composer?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of this one case, and it's a very simple thing where the composer wrote impossible notes for the piano. So, you can't do that.
I know that book, Impossible Notes for the Piano. I studied it.
There should be a book. You'll write it probably. But no, I think if you can talk to the composer, I remember on this very difficult piece, I did go to the composer and he wrote maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs about what he was thinking. And that helped me enormously. I mean, geez, he's telling me right in black and white. So it got me on a certain path of how I studied the piece. But it was still very, very difficult.
Well, I'm not trying to be black and white about contemporary. I mean, I love a lot of contemporary music,
Yeah,
and I don't have trouble appreciating it. But uh, okay, random thought
yeah,
that flew into my head. Messiaen, like Messiaen is so much about color and texture. How
right.
do you approach something? Have you done Messiaen?
Oh, really just the quartet for the end of time.
Oh, that's all. Okay.
Played that several times, and the audience just adores that piece. And I don't think they understand everything about it. It's just the emotional, effect is great on
One
people.
of the things that has come out in contemporary music is in contemporary classical music is texture and color. Sometimes they're when you're looking for a melody line, you're not really getting a melody line. What you're getting is emotions, feelings and notes that can communicate feelings and colors.
Mhm.
Do you approach that differently? Do you have you experienced anything like that, or am I
Oh,
like
everything
delusional?
I touch, everything I've played ever has color. Now we're getting into art. How
Yeah.
we're the same as artists, but no, we're not. No, color to me is so important. It's I wouldn't say everything. I'm trying to, what would be everything?
Well, I'm thinking more. I'm thinking more in terms of tone clusters.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
When you write with tone clusters,
Yes, yes.
that's not necessarily linear writing.
No, no. You're right. You're right. But I think you're right in that the emotion of it really comes out when you do that.
Right.
And but color just in general can really transform a piece, I think.
How do you find the colors in a piece, and when do you find it? Is it early in the process, or is it later on?
Oh, sometimes something comes to you right away and you just grab it and you're like, yeah, 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 that's gonna work. Other things the day before you play and you realize you forgot a whole you didn't even see something that was there the day before a concert. But I mean, it can happen anytime that you see color transforming a phrase. It's at
Right.
the piano, it's so common to use color, I mean, especially say, I don't know, Debussy, Ravel. It's it's such a part of it all. But even say I'm thinking of pieces I'm working on, like the Schumann symphonic etudes. There's so much color in each little character piece that without it, I don't think the character would come through.
Well, that's great stuff. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. That's getting to the meat of what I'm looking for here.
And I was just thinking real quickly that maybe the word I was looking for that might be the end all of what we're talking about might be the word desire, because at the piano, you really have to desire things to happen. You can't just sit there. There has to be this great kind of burning desire to express. And maybe that's similar in acting as well.
Well, there are pianists who are admired for the technique and not for their emotion.
Hmm.
I don't think you're one of them. I think you're definitely your technique is dazzling. I mean,
Oh,
I
thanks.
mean,
But I know what you're
I thought
saying.
I thought that when I was 8 years old, and I still think it now.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
but you're also can communicate a tremendous amount of emotion in your playing. I don't
Maybe,
know, and that seems to be in spite of what you're trying to do, because you're trying to keep yourself out of it. I hear you
right,
saying this. You're
right,
trying to
right.
be just the vehicle.
Yeah.
I
Imagine
I
if I
don't.
didn't try.
Oh my God. We'd all like jump out windows after your concerts. Oh my God, the pain, the pain. Um, we have a question. Judy Binus wants to know, when the composer approaches you, does he or she pitch an idea or concept, or does the composer come with something and says that she or he would like you to premiere the piece?
Um, but really both have happened. More often the piece is already written and they want you to perform it, either as a first time or not. Uh, Not as often people just talk about what they are going to write and would you be interested, but that's happened to me less.
So, what's that like? Do you help them shape it, or do they have an idea and you say, "That sounds great, go do it"?
Pretty much. I don't want to get into their head.
Oh, okay. So, do you think that when somebody has written a piece for you,
Mhm. Yeah,
as flattering as it is,
yeah.
are you ever surprised? Do you ever go, "Why is this? Why does he see this for me?"
Maybe a little bit in that recently there was so much drama and COVID, inside of the pieces that I thought, oh my gosh, this is tragic and heavy. And maybe I was thinking, oh, I would have liked something a slightly bit lighter. But you just deal with what you're given. And I think, that's your job. That's your job.
Let's talk a little bit about your training, because you studied with Rudolph Serkin and many others. Who
Yeah.
who are the greatest influences on you,
Oh, well,
other than the woman that pulled your ponytail?
no, that was a great influence. Marian Filar, who came over from Poland. He was a great Chopin interpreter himself. And he studied with King after the war. And we had him at Settlement Music School. We were just like so lucky to have him and others who came over from Europe. And he prepared me to play, with the Philadelphia Orchestra when I was 17 and earlier too. And he prepared me so well. I mean, I barely had to think about anything. It was incredible. He was an incredible teacher, almost like a father.
I know some people are um, enamored of Rudolph Serkin. So tell us a little bit about studying with him.
I was enamored. I mean, when I walked in, I thought I was, in the presence of a god. And I had to get over that really. He, for me, was difficult in a way because I had come from Falar, who had, oh God, I mean, he would sit there and write fingering for hours. And tell you every last thing. And here was Serkin, who pretty much wanted you to do it yourself. So it was really almost like this transition I had to make to being a mature player. And it was difficult. I think I had more fun with him when it was chamber music. There I felt freer, but the one-on-one walking into the studio, oh boy. It was hard. It was hard. But then I would just go home and listen to him play, and it was incredible.
What was the greatest lesson you learned from him that you took with you into your career?
Oh boy, that's a good question. Well, he'd always say, do it any way you can. I'd say, how do I do it? Any way you can. But in a way that has helped
Where
me.
Falar would have given you the fingering.
Oh my God, Falar would have, talked for a half hour about how to do it. Yeah. Yeah, they were very different.
You're probably, I would assume you're grateful for both points of view that were taught to you, because
Oh my gosh, my teachers were just like angels. After Serkin was Leonard Scherer, who also was a very Germanically trained pianist. He was a lot like Serkin, really, but himself, and he was easier for me to deal with as a teacher as well. I would just kind of, it was hard because he also was very strict. I think he had studied with Schnabel himself, and Schnabel had been very strict with Leonard. And then Leonard was very strict with us. Although, I don't know, he kind of went easy on me, I think. I always think that. I think he thought of me like a daughter or something. And I could giggle my way out of a lot of parts.
you could giggle your way out.
And did. And then
Art,
Taubman was great. She was a fantastic teacher in Brooklyn.
R.K. Green wants to know if you've ever played in a stage or theater piece.
In a theater piece? Oh gosh, no, only in the pit, never on stage.
Never on stage. There's a two-character play about Clara Schumann.
Oh, wow.
That somebody ought to grab you and put you in. Seriously.
Oh, I'd love it. Wow, she's a hero, boy.
RK wants to know, how was it in the pit?
Well, I'll tell you, it was actually, I remember I had to play some Schumann for what was going on the stage, but I kept thinking, oh, I want to be on the stage. I'm stuck down here in the pit.
Oh, so there is a little bit of a actor in you.
Yeah, maybe I was. Oh, come on,
So,
give me a little role.
so you've never actually gone through a period where you were terrified to go on stage in front of an audience.
Oh, never. No, I love the stage. Yeah.
Wow. Um, Not me. I used to be pretty shy. I don't know if you know remember how shy I was when we were kids?
I do, yeah. But now you're wonderful and outgoing.
Yeah, I sort of learned how to do it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But the big change for me was when I was 14 at Central High School. You were at Girls High, and we didn't hang out together when you were in.
No, I don't know why.
That's
No,
crazy.
I know.
I can't believe that. So
Well, at that point, I was pretty much a loner with my music.
yeah, I was kind of a loner too. But did you see me when I was in the play at Girls High? I was the star of the play, of one of the plays at Girls High.
Oh, I hope I saw it. I don't remember.
Nude with Violin by Noel Coward.
Wow. Wow. I could see you in that.
I played Sebastian La Creole. so,
Oh,
so um, let's see what Paul Smith wants to know. Whether have you played the later piano works of Busoni?
oh, no. I'm glad there are other people out there who have done it. I often feel that way about certain repertoire. I'm glad someone else is doing it because it's so hard, I'm
Well,
glad.
art is very personal, and I would think that I'm sure you're put into positions where you have to play things that you don't have a strong attachment to. But
Almost never. I know Serkin played a lot of Busoni, and I always kind of admired it, but I didn't maybe love it enough to want to tackle it.
Yeah, it's just a lot of tackling, isn't it? Um, Now, Judith Binus wants to know if you knew a piano teacher named Abby Simon.
Oh, of course, by name, by name. No,
Oh,
I went to Curtis. I believe wasn't Abby Simon at Juilliard? I'm really not sure, but of course he was a fantastic pianist.
I have a feeling that it probably was Juilliard, because we're New Yorkers. So what do we know? I mean, I grew up with Curtis. I mean, I knew Curtis
Yes,
Institute
of course. Yes.
because
I could
we're
totally
from
remember.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Questions from the room? Any comments or questions at this point? Or is everybody with us? You guys? Let's see some questions in the chat or raise your hand. Alan Wasserman thinks Abby Simon was in Texas.
Oh, could very well be. Texas
I
had
mean,
great people. Well, that's where Leonard Scherer came up from Texas to Boston University. And that's how I met him.
okay. Um, Trying to think what threads we've left dangling because I've been pushing a lot of different themes through this
Yeah.
conversation. Um, I, who among the contemporary composers that you've worked with do you feel the most affinity to?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I will say David Del Tredici in the sense that, he kind of went back to tonality at one point. And I mean,
Are you allowed to admit that you like tonality?
and so,
I mean, I can say it. I'm a heathen.
no, I love tonality. It's fantastic. But at the same time, I want to see where we're going, and what we're doing next. And David's work is maybe not easy ever, but it's easier to get your head around because of the tonality, But
I
I
think it.
don't really have a favorite. I'm one of these people when I'm working on a piece, it's my favorite piece. I'm in love with what I'm working on.
So for me, keeping the metaphor going, tonality and melodic writing is comparable to linear narrative for me. I'm sure that you can make an argument in favor of atonal and really aggressive pieces and abstract pieces having a narrative. But I think that we have nonlinear structure in writing, and I kind of feel like you see. Let's go back to Stravinsky. Stravinsky, of course, shocked everybody with his percussive writing and his just pounding of assonance and those odd harmonies. Yet, if you listen to any of this, like Le Sacre du Printemps, which everybody was like booing and throwing chairs on the stage, you listen to it today, and we can hear the narrative. It makes actually perfect sense, and of course it needs to because it was written for a ballet, which is storytelling.
Yes,
Um,
right.
but but there are pieces. Is it just that our ears have to get used to them, or are there some pieces that are inherently not linear?
Oh boy, that's a hard one.
Well, of
I
course, I'm asking you hard questions. That's what I'm here for.
Everything up until now has been doable. But no. I'm thinking that, it's what you come to it with, and you come to it with everything that you've already heard. So in a way you're coming to it with everything but then you have to take that leap after that. And again, if I don't think it matters if you don't understand what you're listening to, if it has an emotional appeal.
Sometimes yes, and sometimes I feel lost.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's the same thing with a play.
Yeah.
There's some plays I go to. we talk about the welcome, the opening the door for the audience. There's a moment in any play where you suddenly go, oh, this is where I am, and this is how I'm supposed to be viewing this, and you
Right.
enter and you follow the story to the end. I think it's the same thing with music. Sometimes I don't find the opening. I don't find out where I'm orienting myself so that I can follow the thoughts through to the end.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But also there's a difference when you're actually looking at the score and learning the score and playing the score than just listening. There's a giant difference there because the minute you play it, you're really inside it at that point. And something, even if you kind of don't know what you're doing, maybe in a week you will know what you're doing, because it just becomes part of you.
Okay, Linda Popke wants to know, after studying with teachers like Serkin and Scherer, how did you decide what to integrate from their styles versus developing on your own?
Oh gosh, good question again. I think the whole time I was myself. I think that's why they liked me. I mean, I wasn't, I was me already at 12, you know. I could do a lot, I could play a lot already. And I think they were teachers say like a Serkin, in a funny way, he's looking for a finished product, really, that he can then teach you about music, so that things like even technique are secondary at that point. So I don't think you ever really lose yourself in, no matter. I think you could, because they were so strong. Their own personalities were so strong. But I don't know. It never bothered me that they were like that.
So destiny just took you from one teacher to another that really was part of your path, and but it was always your path. So I think I have great respect for you and I have great admiration. I also am in awe of your strength. You have such strength when you play.
Uh-huh.
Um, you really do. And because of the strength that you have in your fingers and also your whole body, you are able. This goes back to something I said earlier. You're able to find and bring out for the ear the the inner voices that we often miss in other performances.
Right, right. That's very crucial.
So
But that doesn't require, I think that requires really an ear more than anything. The ear is maybe the most important thing. Of course, strength is good especially in certain pieces, but the ear is everything. Because if the ear wants to hear the middle voices, you're going to bring it, something about it is going to make you do it. And so I think the source of it all is really your ear and your heart, your desire, the things that you hear and want very strongly. Somebody might want to hear a melody, and I'm like tired of the melody. I want to hear the middle and the bottom. So it's really a choice you make with your whole kind of your whole being.
Janet Conrad, you can ask your question. I know that you had your hand up.
I was so fascinated by everything, but that's when you were speaking about the connection to color in music. Does that mean that you see actual colors that go with notes or passages, or does it mean that there's a sense of the different subtle and profound ways that different sections are different?
Yeah. Oh, much more the latter. Although,
Okay.
I'll tell you, when I was little, a neighbor came over with this cardboard kind of, the keys had different colors. So like C was red and D was blue and E was green. So I think right away I did get that sense of color and music being very, going together. But I think when I talk about color, it's more in sound than in something you visually see.
Thank you. I
It's
couldn't resist.
so
Thank you.
so Janet. It's basically a palette
Yes,
that
right,
you're drawing from, and it's not so much the physicality of the color; it's the emotion of the color. So I
right.
think when we talk about color in music, what we're talking about is brightness or somberness. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
Chopin's Funeral March has a
Oh my
definite
God.
color.
Yes,
It's
they're
got a
beautiful.
definite color. What?
I have that on a recording. And oh my goodness, it's pretty death-like,
Yeah.
the color.
Um,
Well,
so
thank
it's you can use you hear it as you can hear it as dark.
Mhm.
Different people experience arts in different ways. I mean, generally speaking, people can be audio, visual, or kinesthetic. So we tend to experience things predominantly through our vision, or predominantly through our ear, or predominantly through our body, which feelings that come to us. So whatever you happen to be, you're experiencing colors in a different way. Even the physical colors, you're experiencing them in your own personal way. Um, it, which is fascinating when you come right down to it, is that no two people are ever seeing the same thing, um, or hearing the same thing,
We're
for that
hearing
matter.
the same
Yeah.
thing. Yes, right.
thank you. Thank
Thank
So,
you.
so we've covered a lot of area. It's a conversation that I wanted to have. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but I thought it went to some interesting places, and I'm glad that we had it. And I'm very grateful to have you here
Oh,
with us
I'm
today.
honored. I'm so honored, really, and flattered.
Well, I like the scarf you sent me, so there.
Hey, you never know what might be in the mail tomorrow.
I know I keep getting presents from you. So you're amazing. You're amazing. You're very dear to me.
Oh, good.
You've been in my heart since elementary school, even though we didn't see each other for 50 years.
Oh, oh my goodness.
But I literally always thought of you for many years, many years. I always looked for you to see what you were doing. I remember when I read a Times review of a concert that you gave, and I was just so excited
Oh,
about that.
thank you. Thank you.
What was the most exciting place you've ever played? The most exciting concert that you ever gave,
Gosh. Oh, well, I
and
mean,
where was it?
maybe Alice Tully Hall, but that was chamber music, which I adore, just absolutely adore chamber music. And I just remember looking out this little door backstage, and you could see the whole audience, and everything was just, oh my God, it looked very big, and I was intimidated. But then, we walked out and played, and everything was fine. So maybe that was the most exciting place.
Okay, so that's one of the things that you hold in your heart and your memory.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely. Definitely.
Um, well, I think we're gonna wind up now, and I'm gonna say my little thank you to my YouTube viewers out there, as well as the people that are here in the room right now.
All right.
And I want to remind everybody that we do this um, we do this for you, for the community, and you are welcome always to come for free if that's what you need to do. But if we don't have money coming in, eventually the money's going to run out. So if you want to support us and donate to Trude, you can go to TRU Donate, truedonate.com, trudonate.com. And thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Beth,
Oh,
um,
my pleasure. Thank you.
my childhood friend. On what I was saying earlier, I always remember when we were kids, we called your street Lenape Road. It's Lenape, isn't it? We now know it's Lenape.
It'll always be Lenape to me, I'm
Yeah.
afraid. Yeah.
So and I
Okay.
guess that gives us a clue as to what land we were living on in Philadelphia.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Right.
So
Okay.
everybody, you can come into the room now. You can turn on your videos and unmute yourself and join us. Beth, are you able to stay and meet people? I'm sure people would love to talk to you, but if you can't, it's understandable.
Oh, I'm afraid not. I'm going to,
Okay.
yes, I'm afraid not.
Okay, so I'm going to bring everybody in, and I'm going to give you another official thanks for
Thank
being here.
you. My pleasure.
When's the next concert, by the way, in New York?
Oh gosh. Oh, I'll let you know. My next concert isn't in New York. So
Well, I want to know the next one in New York so I can come.
I will definitely definitely, of course, let you know when it happens.
Okay.
Okay.
Where is your next concert? Where are you going off to?
Oh, in England?
Oh, well, we have somebody here from England. I'm trying to remember. One of our writers is is in England, so he should come see you.
Oh, well, I'll let him know, definitely, or let you know, and then you can, you know, get him.
Yeah, we have people in is it in the London area or is it outside of London?
Outside of London.
Very far outside of London.
No, Sussex, actually.
Oh, okay, Sussex. Okay, I will let everybody know that you're playing in Sussex when you send me the information. I'll send
I
it
will.
out.
Okay.